Like this video and subscribe to the channel right now, and get 1 week of amazing luck. This video demonstrates how more than 5,000 of Juarez, Peru's citizens were lost. Additionally, you'll feel sympathy for Amero, a young child who perished in the Amero tragedy. You will also observe how a 2.6 magnitude landslide caused fatalities. It's important to stay tuned because this is unique and won't be found anyplace else. Number 20. Juarez debris flow, Ancash, Peru. In December 1941, people in the Ancash area of Peru's capital city awoke to the biggest shock of their lives. They had no idea that a retreating glacier that perched above their city would soon bring destruction and hundreds of deaths. Disaster struck the Peruvian city before the start of December 13. The avalanche caused glacial ice to smash into Lake Pallicoca, creating enormous waves that broke the lake's dam. As a result, enormous amounts of water that were loaded with ice, rock, and dirt were forced into the valley. Water from the two lakes overflowed their banks into the surrounding city due to damage to another dam. More than 5,000 people died in the incident. Number 19. Vargas tragedy, Vargas, Venezuela. One nation that is frequently mentioned in conjunction with natural disasters is Venezuela. They have shared in this environmental devastation and continue to do so. Venezuela's Vargas state experienced exceptionally heavy rainfall during the winter of 1999, which led to a succession of small and large flash floods that resulted in the deaths of close to 30,000 people. To put it mildly, the catastrophe claimed the lives of around 10% of the residents in the area. Thousands of homes were carried into a neighboring ocean, and the communities of Carmen de Oria and Cerro Grande were submerged beneath the dirt. Number 18. Amero tragedy. The effects of the Nevada del Ruiz eruption in Tolima, Colombia, are known as the Amero disaster. A lahar was created when the eruption melted many glaciers at the mountain's summit. A type of mudflow landslide known as a lahar contains diverse rocks and volcanic debris. Over 20,000 people were killed in the city as a result of this fast landslide, which can travel at speeds of up to 20 feet per second and caught locals off a surprise. Elmira, a 13-year-old girl, became a symbol of the tragedy's sadness since rescuers were unable to get her out of her home. Before giving up, she was submerged for 3 days. She consumed the snacks and meals that the rescue workers brought to her throughout that time. Number 17. Gansu landslide. The Gansu region in China and the town of Jiuzhou saw the greatest landslide ever in 2010. The incident resulted in the deaths of thousands of people. This town is vulnerable to natural disasters due to a number of causes. Weeks before to this mudslide, Jiuzhou had seen heavy rain, but due to years of drought, the city had little to no vegetation. A little flood was followed by a large landslide that uprooted rock, dirt, and other material. Number 16. Dieshi slide, Sichuan, China. The landslide that occurred in Dieshi led to the destruction of lives and property. The event occurred in 1993, and since then the Chinese city has not recovered from the memories, although many towns and villages were affected by the 7.8 magnitude quake. The worst hit was the town of Dieshi. It destroyed an entire town and killed about 9,000 people. The town was later submerged in water and a lake was formed. Number 15. Ginsogan landslide. More than 1,200 victims were identified following the avalanche on February 11, 2006. In St. Bernard, southern Leyte, an earthquake let off a boulder and mud avalanche that tumbled down a mountainside. Because it had been accumulating over time and they were unaware of it, the occurrence took the locals off guard. Geologists warned about a landslide in the area following a heavy downpour days before the accident. It received the predicted lack of respect. Number 14. Hurricane Maria. On September 20, 2010, residents of Puerto Rico suffered one of the deadliest natural disasters in history. Hurricane Maria had the most rainfall of all of the 129 storms that hit the country in the past 60 years. It dropped around 41 inches of rainfall on the island, which resulted in devastating floods. Researchers say about 4,600 people died in the disaster. Hurricane Maria was therefore named the third most costly tropical cyclone because it caused around $98 billion worth of damage. Number 13. Southern Lady mudslide. A relatively mild earthquake triggered the southern Leyte mudslide of 2006. Although it had a magnitude of only 2.6, it was preceded by 10 days of heavy rainfall. This caused a massive mudslide in which 1.2 billion cubic meters of mud slid down the side of Mount Canapés. It took only a few seconds for the villagers to be covered in mud. The worst affected was Goansalgan because the disaster swept off the village. The official death toll was 1,126. Experts say mining and logging done in the area was the main culprit. However, eyewitnesses say the area had enough force to withstand the slide. Number 12. Nevado Huascarán Debris Fall, Peru. The famous Peruvian mountain Mount Huascarán is 22,205 feet tall. A part of the mountain's north side broke in 1962 as a result of the thaw, causing an avalanche that killed close to 45,000 people. The occurrence, known as hueco locally, involved a large sheet of ice that was said to be nearly 1 kilometer broad and 40 feet high. The ice sheets accumulated debris and rocks from the mountains as they downed the slopes, fortifying them with power. This resulted in the flooding of a number of settlements in Yungay and Ranraherka. Number 11. North India flood mudslides, Kedarnath, India. One of the worst disasters to ever strike India was the one that took place in 2013. In the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand, violent flash floods claimed the lives of approximately 700 people. The country refers to the tragedy, which was mostly caused by cloudbursts and monsoon rain, as a national calamity. However, environmentalists contend that human meddling in the ecosystem has made it exceedingly fragile and vulnerable to disasters like this one. For example, unrestrained tourism has encouraged the rapid construction of roads, stores, and hotels across the town without regard for the ecology or environmental rules. The region's numerous hydroelectric dams are also to blame for the harm. Even though heavy rainfalls have occurred in the region many times, the incident of 2013 is the worst to date. Number 10. Haiyuan Flows, Ningxia, China. The second deadliest earthquake in the 20th century was the 8.5 magnitude Haiyuan quake. 675 people lost their lives and their property due to landslides as a result of it. Over 100,000 people perished in this disaster that ravaged the rural area in 1920, and 20,000 square kilometers of land were ruined. The Ningxia Huawei Autonomous Region and the nearby provinces of Shaanxi and Gansu were the worst affected areas. A whole village was also submerged in the disaster, which claimed the lives of more than 50% of the people. Number 9. Kalut Lahars, Indonesia. Java, an island in Indonesia, is home to Mount Kalut, a volcano. When this mountain erupted, water shot out of its crater and a sizable chunk of earth split loose, wreaking havoc in its wake. About 100 communities were impacted by the volcano lahars, a mixture of mud and lava, which descended into the village. At the time, Indonesia was a Dutch colony, so the Dutch government quickly took action to lessen the impacts. Even now, the region around Mount Kalut is vulnerable. Number 8. Sierra Leone mudslide August 14, 2017. A slope fell close to Freetown, causing the renowned mudslide of 2017 that wreaked havoc on Freetown and the surrounding area of Sierra Leone. The collapse had disastrous ramifications after 3 days of rain. The drainage system of the city was overrun by water and dirt, causing floods that killed many locals. The regions, where many people lived in towns or on hillsides, were also destroyed by the flooding. Thankfully, military forces were dispatched to aid the disaster's victims. Number 7. Shizuoka Landslide. The landslide that happened in the Shizuoka prefecture of Japan was brought on by a typhoon. Over 1,900 landslides were caused by typhoons and severe rain. Because the cyclone devastated the area, these landslides were accompanied by flooding. With nothing to be made of the remains, more than 20,000 dwellings were destroyed. 1,000 individuals died from the accident, while 500,000 people were left homeless. Number 6. Itagan Benguet landslide. The strongest tropical cyclone of 2018 is the typhoon Onpong. In the northern Luzon, it delivered violent gusts and torrential rain. On September 15, 2018, the majority of fatalities were reported in Indigo. About 58 persons had already passed away as of September 21st. Even though this area is prone to landslides, 31 of them resided in Barangay Ucab, where one of the largest landslides in the town happened. Residents of this area are miners and continue to mine because it is their only source of income. However, the Environment Department claimed that the mountain's steep slope and the soil's texture, not mining operations, were to blame for the landslide. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take me 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal: you just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribes button and hit the notification bell, and you'll get 15 years of amazing luck. Try it, it really works. Number 5. Mount St. Helens Volcano. A brave student managed to capture this footage of the world's biggest and most dangerous landslide. The giant landslide occurred in 1980, and it was like opening the cap of a soda that was just being shaken. Once the side of the mountain was removed, all manner of volcanic gases exploded out the side, and this blast traveled at speeds of 670 miles an hour. It caused a landslide and destroyed trees, homes and wildlife in a 13-kilometer radius in the area about 21 kilometers away from the volcano. The blast toppled trees and left them lying in neat rows as bare as toothpicks. Further out, the trees remained standing but severely burnt. As if that wasn't enough, a second blast followed, and it sent up a mushroom cloud more than 12 miles into the air. 57 people died as a result of this disaster, and its effects were felt in the months to come, as unemployment in the immediate area rose tenfold. Landslides are not unheard of in volcanic cones. After all, they are tall, steep, and become weak with the rise and eruption of molten rock. Number 4. The Sierra Leone landslide, Florida. The coastlines of countries are understandably vulnerable to landslides. Florida's combination of weather, weak sedimentary deposits, and extreme rainfall on steep slopes and bluffs give the perfect recipe for disaster. On August 14 in 2017, there was unusually high rainfall in Sierra Leone in Florida. 20 inches more than in previous years. The soil could only absorb so much before reaching the breaking point. That breaking point usually comes in the form of runoff, but in this case, it went into cracks and crevices and lubricated the ground on top of a hill. Eventually, a slab of unstable earth was pulled down by gravity and came crashing down, trees and all. The deadly landslide came crashing down, and a torrent of dirty brown water flooded the streets of Sierra Leone, Florida, according to relief aid. More than 600 people went missing and about 300 were found dead. More bodies were found washed up on the beach. Landslides tend to occur over and over in the same location simply because every landslide just makes the land more vulnerable and unstable. Any area composed of very weak or fractured materials resting on a steep slope can and will likely experience landslides. Though the whole thing was over in just a few seconds, the aftermath was felt for a lot longer. Number 3. Big Sur, California. This one was caught on a camera all the way from space, that's how big it was. Jaw-dropping before and after satellite images of the California coastline were released in 2017. The landslide sent over 1 million tons of rocks and dirt across Highway 1, which overlooks the Pacific Ocean. It occurred on May 20, 2017, but there was a smaller landslide earlier in the spring before this one. It's possible that the smaller landslides caused the big one that changed the coastline of the state, which wouldn't be uncommon. Much of California's coastline is vulnerable and open to collapse, but luckily these areas are not so populated. The destruction covered about 0.3 miles of the highway and caused 16 acres of land to jut out of the Big Sur coastline. It caused Highway 1 to close for a year while work was underway. Number 2. Gilgit-Baltistan, Pakistan. In October of this year, a particularly heavy monsoon in Pakistan caused a landslide to come crashing down on a passenger bus. It killed 16 people, including 4 Pakistan Army officials. Like we said before, monsoons in South Asia are unforgiving. In 2020, Pakistan saw heavy rainfall resulting in 400 people dead, 390 injured, and 217,000 homes wholly or partially destroyed. During August and early September, they were also severely hit by urban flooding, leading to a high death and injury count and over 300,000 homes destroyed. The Sindh area in Pakistan feels the worst of this, and it was even declared an emergency on August 25 of this year. The landslide in this video occurred in the Gilgit-Baltistan region in the north. which has 4 great mountain ranges close together, all prone to landslides. The bus was pushed into a ditch along the road in Skardu and buried under mud and rock. This video shows the relief efforts that followed, but the authorities said the chances of finding anyone alive are slim. Number 1. Sri Lanka landslide. Monsoons in South Asia are without mercy. The torrential downpour at best would cause electricity shortages and at worst would cause destruction in the mayhem. They have been especially bad in the last several years thanks to rapid transformations in farming irrigation aerosol emissions, rising greenhouse gases, and a warmer Indian Ocean. In 2016, rains caused a massive landslide to crash down onto 3 villages in Sri Lanka and more than 200 families went missing, perhaps buried under the rubble. 16 bodies were recovered and 180 people were rescued. More than 300 soldiers were joined by local residents to help dig through the mud and the debris to recover more bodies. The total populations of the villages are unknown. But villages of that size tend to have no more than 1,000 to 1,500 people. The rains also unleashed mudslides and severe flooding in the capital city of Colombo, and tens of thousands of homes were destroyed.